today we are going to be doing a cityscape scene that is sort of like in a snow globe type kind of painting. So we're going to be using lots of different supplies which you should have in your box. So you should have 2 pieces of white paper, you should have the cardboard box which your stuff came in, and that should have a circle on which you can cut out, scissors of course, and the main ones, watercolours and marker pens, and then some glue and glitter. So to start off, we're going to cut out our circle to match, cut out both circles so that they match. So you're going to have one of the pieces of white card cut out in the same kind of circle. Then we're going to first off do a background, which is going to be the sky background behind your buildings. So I went for a daytime sky. You can go for a night sky, you can go for a sunset, a sunrise. It's completely up to you. You can use any different colours you want. I went for blues and greens just because I thought it looked really nice in comparison with the bright buildings. It's completely up to you for what you go for. So I just started adding on my paints and blending them in. I would say to add quite a lot of water on the base just to sort of get a light, like sort of washy base on the background, to blend it all and to make it look really nice, make it look nice and soft against sort of the bolder buildings which will be used with the marker pens and everything. So I sort of went in circular motions to sort of match the way that it's a circular piece of paper, and just carried on. I really liked how it was going, just started adding different colours and blending them. This is a really relaxing process, so definitely feel free to pause it if you need more time. You probably will because this is sped up a little bit. So I was just sort of adding the background. So what I'm going to be doing eventually is I'm going to be using the paper, the other piece of paper, and the paints, as well as the markers, just sort of create a city scene that I can lay on top. It looks really cool, so hopefully you'll really like it. So I'm adding on different shades of blue to give the sky a dimension. Also, I just thought I'd mention, I got the inspiration, sort of recreated someone else's activity, and they are called Cassie Stevens. So that was the original person who did this activity, and I absolutely loved it, and I thought you guys would really enjoy it. So that's what I did. So I've sort of made this video. So I'm sort of blending out the colours and making sure there aren't too many like divisions in terms of lines that look silly. So I've sort of blended it out to make it look more like a sky, and I'm kind of loving it. It looks a bit like a marble, I'm not going to lie, which I kind of like because I think it looks quite dreamy, which is what I wanted my sky to look like. So I'm just carrying on. Sorry, I'm currently painting off the screen. It was quite hard to get the whole circle in the screen. So I think I'm painting the sides at the moment. So then I just went in with some darker colours, sort of at the edge to give it a bit more of a, like, you know when a camera like focuses in and it has darker bits at the edge and then it like focuses in on the subject, I kind of want it to be like that. Even if you're not happy with your background, mostly it will be covered. It just gives a really nice base for when you put the buildings on. So I'm just kind of messing around with the different blues. I really love watercolour to work with because it's really nice, because if you do something and you're not happy with it, you can just put water on top of it and it will blend out. And a lot of the time I do things that I'm like, actually I don't want it to be like that. So it's a really nice medium to work with, especially if you don't paint very often or if you want to get into painting, because it's really easy to move around the page, and as I said, you can sort of fix mistakes or things that you don't like on your painting. I've added a little bit more green, because I thought it would sort of bring out some of the different colours that I'm going to use on the buildings. And then I've added some white as well. It's just blending. And this is my finished background. I was really happy with it. And let's get into making the different buildings to go on top. Okay, so on this section we're going to be using the other piece of white paper, and we are going to be doing more painting with the watercolours and working on the building section. So I would suggest to use a whole page for this. So what I've done is I've been painting sort of big long lines, which I will draw the buildings on top, and I did all sorts of colours. I did sort of a rainbow of colours across the page, and I just kept working on it. And you don't have to do it in stripes. You can do it long ways, or the way I did it, or you could do circles, you could do shapes of colour. You can do anything you want to make your buildings look how you want them to. I would suggest to use a range of colours because I just think it makes the buildings look really nice, and it makes the piece look really colourful. But at the same time, it's completely up to you which colours you use. You could do a theme, you could do loads of colours like I did, you could do just one colour. It's completely up to you because it's your piece. So I started with yellow and green, and I sort of tried to blend them, but it didn't work too well. And then after that, I went to blue. I went in with a dark blue because I did the background with light blue, so definitely think about how your colours will interact with the colours you put on the background as well, and how they'll stand out or they won't, so just bear that one in mind. I definitely could have used using a bit more water on my brush on this one, but I made it work anyway. So I'm just carrying on, and then I went on to sort of a purple colour. I really liked this colour. I thought this looked really nice, and I thought it was going to work really, really well with the colours in the background that I'd done. So I was super excited about that. Also, when you're putting your colours down, think about which markers you're going to use to draw the buildings. I knew that I was going to make the buildings with black marker and a little bit of white marker, but mainly black marker because I thought it would be really defined and it would sort of stand out against the colourful background. Whereas if you use sort of darker colours, like greys or dark blues or black for your buildings, think about sort of how that will work with the marker and how you're going to outline your buildings. So here I created a pink as well, and I really wanted to blend the pink and purple because I kind of had a vision of a building that was mixed together, pink and purple, blended. So that's what I did. So I ended up with a page of lots of different colours, and I would definitely suggest to let this dry for a while, because if you try and draw when it's obviously a bit too wet, it won't go too well. Also, if you're doing stripes like me, as you can see, it got on the table that I was painting on, so make sure you put something underneath, or you're just super careful so that it doesn't get too messy.
Okay, so the next stage is drawing on your buildings. So like I said, I have used a black marker pen to draw on mine, And I'm doing a cityscape. You don't have to do that, but I think it looks really nice with the backdrop. So I am sort of drawing different buildings. What I'm trying to do is make it 3D, because I sort of think that with the bright colours and the background and sort of like the depth of the watercolour, it makes it look really nice if you try and sort of add some dimension. So definitely try and add some different edges and sort of like the way that the edges are angled, like add them on rather than just doing flat buildings to make them more 3D. So as you can see there, I tried to do that, and it's a little bit tricky, but if you need help you could always look up and Google different pictures of drawings of buildings or actual buildings to sort of see how they're structured. So here I'm adding on some details with the bricks, and I'm using a white pen as well, but you could use white paint here. You can use any coloured pens you want. As I said, darker pens like dark blues or dark purples or blacks or greys will look really nice against the bright colours if you've done those like me. So I added some more like 3D by adding the lines on. This activity was sort of inspired by my friend Sammy, who does, she did architecture lessons last year at my camp that I went to. She taught us a lot about perspective, and I learned a lot about her on sort of how to draw buildings with the correct perspective, how they look in real life to make them look more realistic. So definitely that's inspired by Sammy, that bit. So this bit I'm doing like a mixture of buildings. I'm doing some type of like skyscraper type ones, but also some like you can make them like if you want to do a palace, you could do that. If you want to do skyscrapers, if you want to do sort of buildings from a specific city, so you could do the Eiffel Tower, you could do the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you could do, I'm thinking of other ones, Big Ben from London. So they don't all have to be sort of from New York or from America. They can be from anywhere in the world. Oh yeah, this so I've just been suggested the Sydney Opera House, also the Taj Mahal. You could do so many different shapes and sizes of buildings. Oh, and bridges, yes, San Francisco Bridge as well. You could do Brooklyn Bridge, you could do anything, so any buildings that you fancy. So then I'm moving on, I'm doing some on the dark blue as well, so I'm just sort of trying to do at least one building on each one, and as you can see I'm sort of trying to do the 3D thing again. And on this one I did a bit more of a fun pattern. I did like a scallop pattern, which I thought was cute. I think something with this one, don't worry if you don't think all of them are going to fit on the page, because it's absolutely fine if they don't fit on, because you'll see on the next step we can sort of crop them to cut them to crop them and cut them to fit the page that you're putting on, so it'll look absolutely great. So don't worry if they're going to be too tall, you can always rearrange them, and it doesn't matter if you sort of make too many. I try and fill up your whole page and use up all the colours, and then you could always use the buildings you have left over or the scraps of watercolour background you could use to sort of use it for another craft. I always think putting little borders of watercolour background and paper on birthday cards looks really nice. So here I'm doing another building. This one was kind of inspired by Big Ben, but not really, because it's not very accurate, but it's a big clock tower. Because obviously I'm from England and the capital city is London. So that's where Big Ben is. This could definitely be an opportunity on sort of like looking up places you'd want to visit in the future, sort of like thinking about what kind of buildings you like, what you want to see one day when you might go travelling. So I'm just carrying on here. I did another London inspired one. I don't know if you've ever seen the building The Gherkin, but I did sort of one inspired by that, and I thought it looked really, really nice with the pink colours. So that's what I did for that one. It's a really pretty building. In real life it's like sort of greeny glass, but I sort of just switched out with my colours on here, and I coloured in some with dark pink. So the next bit I'm just adding some more detailing on, and then I'm doing another little one at the top as well. And then I did another one at the top, and it was sort of with lots of shapes. The other little one I did kind of looks like a crayon, but that's fine, I guess. And I did some other type detailing. I did a little flag on the top, which kind of looks like a palace. And then just showing you the different buildings I have. I did a bit of shading to make it look more 3D. And then I started to cut out the buildings. So at this point I'm just cutting out the different buildings. And I think it looks really nice when I've sort of blended the different colours on. So in a minute I'm going to start laying the buildings on top of the background. This is the most fun part for me, because I really like sort of deciding where things will be placed. When I was doing this, I was thinking about a couple of different things. I was thinking about the colours that I was putting next to each other, the colour compared to the background and how they'd work together, the different shapes and sizes of the buildings and how they interact, sort of which ones should be behind and which ones should be in front, my favourite building that I did, so which ones I wanted to be featured the most. So I was thinking about a lot of different things, and I think it definitely looks really 3D, and I really like that. To make it look even more 3D, you could add some shadows where you put the buildings, but I think it looks great when it's layered. So I sort of messed around with it for a bit more, and as you could see, I start going through them and I start to glue them down. So definitely gluing them down now, but then I would say to sort of just take one at a time, because it's quite hard to remember the order that you wanted them in if you don't take them one at a time. Just when you're gluing them down, make sure you press your hands on top to press down the glue to make sure it sticks. Okay, so this is the bit where I was talking about cropping off. So if you sort of turn it around and you can see what sticks over the edge of the circle. You can trim around the edge of the circle with your scissors. This bit got a bit tricky for me because I had a lot of layers of paper to get through. But yes, so that's what it looks like. So then I just added some more pen details on there. And then I finally stuck down the cardboard to my final piece and trimmed that a little. And this is what it looks like. So then for the last thing, to make it look more like a snow globe, I have used my other piece of construction paper, but the A4 one. There should be a coloured piece of construction paper in your box. And I have cut out a template sort of thing that will fit. So you can sort of draw around the circle to see how big it needs to be, and then you can cut out sort of a base. You'll see it in a minute, and I stuck it in between the paper, the sort of like top layer and the base layer with the cardboard. So I stuck it in between the paper and the cardboard, and then you'll see what it looks like. So then I added some glitter with the glue. If you have any spare paper, sometimes it's a good way to do it is add too much glitter on and then tap it off onto the spare paper and then reuse the glitter, just so you don't lose too much. I added different glitter on because I thought it would look more like a snow globe, and that was the finished product. So I'm actually a little bit behind on the recording, but I'm able to just have a little bit of time now to just say I would love to see your designs. So if you could either send them, if you want to, there's no pressure, if you could send them to mary@campmorty.com on email, or you can go on Instagram and tag us at campmorty. I would love to see all your different designs, and that would be great. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I will see you in the next video. See you later. In the Florence test. She seems to like this one. Florence? Thoughts? We've got a waggy tail. I think that is also a success. Oh!